What if the very key to your liberation has been hidden in plain sight your entire life? In our modern world of endless distractions and constant mental chatter, we often find ourselves trapped in patterns of thought and behavior that seem beyond our control. The late Venerable Amatha Gavesi, a revered Sri Lankan Buddhist monk and meditation teacher who lived from 1918 to 2003, offered profound insights into one of Buddhism's most transformative practices, mindfulness. His discourse on mindfulness reveals not just a meditation technique, but a complete reorientation of how we understand ourselves and our relationship with reality. This teaching comes from his comprehensive collection of core discourses, each designed to guide practitioners along the path to liberation. Today's exploration of mindfulness isn't about adding another item to your spiritual to-do list. It's about discovering the fundamental shift in awareness that can free you from cycles of suffering you may not even realize you're trapped in. Venerable Amatha Gavesi begins with a startling observation. We have lived as worldlings for countless lifetimes, developing habits, views, and ways of thinking that feel completely natural to us. But here's the profound realization. What feels natural isn't necessarily what's true. Think about your daily experience. How often do you catch yourself reacting automatically to situations? When someone cuts you off in traffic, when you receive criticism at work, when you see something beautiful or disturbing, your mind immediately jumps into familiar patterns. You feel anger, pleasure, aversion, or desire almost instantly. These reactions feel like you responding as if there's a solid, unchanging self inside making these decisions. The Buddha's revolutionary discovery, which Venerable Amatha Gavesi explains so clearly, is that this sense of a solid self is actually an illusion. What we experience as being is actually a flowing stream of mental and physical processes, thoughts arising and passing away, sensations coming and going, emotions emerging and dissolving. There's no permanent, unchanging entity pulling the strings. This might sound abstract, but its implications are deeply practical. Every time you say, "I'm angry, I want this," or "I don't like that," you're reinforcing the illusion of a separate self. And this illusion is what keeps you trapped in endless cycles of craving and aversion, constantly seeking pleasure and trying to avoid pain. Here's where Venerable Amatha Gavesi offers a beautiful analogy that makes this teaching accessible. He compares our mental energy to electricity, pure, neutral power that can be directed toward any purpose. Electricity itself isn't good or bad. It simply is. You can use it to power a hospital or an electric chair. The energy remains pure regardless of how it's applied. Similarly, your mental energy, your fundamental awareness, is always pure. When you have an angry thought, the awareness that knows the anger isn't contaminated by it. When you experience desire, the consciousness that recognizes the desire remains untouched. The problem isn't with your essential nature. It's with how you've been conditioned to use this pure mental energy. For countless lifetimes, you've been directing this energy toward reinforcing the illusion of a separate self. Every time you think "my desires, my problems, or my achievements," you're using pure mental energy to construct and maintain a false identity. It's like using a powerful computer solely to run programs that crash the system. This is where mindfulness becomes not just helpful, but absolutely crucial. Mindfulness isn't about being generally aware or paying attention. It's a specific quality of awareness that recognizes the true nature of experience as it's happening. Venerable Amatha Gavesi describes mindfulness as playing a vital role because it enables you to know exactly what you are at the moment of committing an act. Without mindfulness, you simply react according to your habitual patterns, unconsciously reinforcing the very illusions that keep you trapped. But with mindfulness, something extraordinary happens. Before the mind can spin its usual stories about "I like this" or "I don't like that," awareness catches the process in motion. It's like having a wise friend who gently taps you on the shoulder just as you're about to make the same mistake you've made 1,000 times before. The key insight that Venerable Amatha Gavesi emphasizes is that true mindfulness always reminds you of reality's three fundamental characteristics: impermanence, Anicca, unsatisfactoriness, Dukkha, and non-self, Anatta. Every experience, no matter how pleasant or unpleasant, is temporary, cannot provide lasting satisfaction, and doesn't belong to a permanent self. True mindfulness doesn't merely quiet the mind. It reveals three fundamental truths that lie hidden beneath every experience. Everything is in constant flux. The sunset you admire, the pain you endure, even your sense of self. Nothing stays the same from one moment to the next. When mindfulness illuminates this truth of impermanence, you begin to hold experiences more lightly, knowing they will naturally change without your intervention. Because nothing lasts, clinging to pleasant experiences inevitably leads to suffering. Even our greatest joys carry the seed of loss. This understanding of unsatisfactoriness doesn't mean life is pessimistic. Rather, it points toward a deeper satisfaction that comes from not demanding permanence from the impermanent. Perhaps most revolutionary is the recognition that there is no permanent owner of experiences. Thoughts and sensations arise and pass away in consciousness without belonging to an unchanging self. This realization of non-self dissolves the exhausting burden of having to defend, improve, or satisfy a separate self. The beauty of this teaching is that it provides both the why and the how. Venerable Amatha Gavesi explains that the Buddha, understanding how difficult it would be for conditioned minds to immediately practice perfect mindfulness, introduced a gradual approach through the four foundations of mindfulness. The practice begins remarkably simply, becoming conscious of your four basic postures: sitting, standing, walking, and lying down. This isn't because these postures are special in themselves, but because they're happening constantly, giving you endless opportunities to practice present moment awareness. When you're walking, you know you're walking. When you're sitting, you know you're sitting. This sounds almost too simple, but it's revolutionary for a mind that's spent lifetimes lost in automatic thinking. You're training the mind to be present rather than constantly drifting into memories of the past or fantasies about the future. From this foundation, you gradually develop the ability to be mindful of feelings, not emotions, but the basic pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral quality that accompanies every experience. Here's where the practice becomes transformative. Instead of immediately reacting to pleasant feelings with attachment, I want more of this, or unpleasant feelings with aversion, I need to get away from this. Mindfulness allows you to see these feelings as impermanent experiences arising and passing away in awareness. This brings us to one of the most profound aspects of Venerable Amatha Gavesi's teaching. He shares a dialogue between the Buddha and a Brahmin who asked about the purpose of mindfulness. The Buddha's answer is striking. The outcome of being mindful is to create detachment. In our culture, detachment often gets misunderstood as emotional numbness or not caring. But the detachment the Buddha spoke of is something entirely different. It's freedom from the compulsive need to categorize every experience as mine, good or bad. It's the spacious awareness that can hold all experiences without being overwhelmed by them. When you see a beautiful sunset, instead of immediately grasping at the experience, I wish this moment could last forever. Mindfulness allows you to simply appreciate the beauty while understanding its impermanent nature. When you face criticism, instead of defensively protecting your ego, you can hear the words while remembering that both the criticism and the one hearing it are temporary phenomena in consciousness. This isn't about becoming passive or disengaged from life. Rather, it's about engaging more fully, but from wisdom rather than compulsion. To illustrate how this works in daily life, Venerable Amatha Gavesi offers the example of someone trying to quit smoking. This person has developed a powerful habit, what he calls a bad habit which you have created, that seems to have control over their choices. Without mindfulness, when the urge to smoke arises, the person automatically gives in. They experience the craving and immediately identify with it. I need a cigarette. The pure mental energy gets directed toward satisfying the desire, temporarily relieving the discomfort, but strengthening the habit for next time. With mindfulness, something different happens. When the urge arises, instead of immediately identifying with it, awareness recognizes it as just another impermanent experience. The person might observe, there's a craving for cigarettes arising. This is impermanent. This is unsatisfactory. This doesn't belong to any permanent self. By consistently responding to the urge with this understanding rather than immediate gratification, the habit gradually weakens. The force of the desire diminishes because it's not being fed by unconscious compliance. Eventually, the compulsion dissolves entirely. What makes this practice so accessible is that you don't need special conditions or lengthy meditation retreats to begin. Every moment you're either sitting, standing, walking, or lying down. Each posture becomes an opportunity to practice presence and awareness. Right now, as you're reading this, you can notice, are you sitting? Standing? How does your body feel in this position? Are you leaning forward with concentration or relaxed and open? Without trying to change anything, simply become aware of your current experience. This simple awareness is already mindfulness in action. You're not lost in thoughts about the past or future. You're present with what's actually happening. And in that presence, you might notice something remarkable. The thoughts, sensations, and feelings you're experiencing are already changing. Nothing remains exactly the same from moment to moment. Venerable Amatha Gavesi makes clear that this isn't just philosophical theory. It's a practical path with genuine results. He describes the progressive stages of awakening, from stream entry through full enlightenment, as stages of increasingly clear recognition of reality's true nature. But you don't need to wait for full enlightenment to experience the benefits. Every moment of mindfulness, every time you catch yourself about to react automatically and instead choose awareness, creates a small opening in the tight grip of unconscious conditioning. These moments accumulate. What begins as occasionally remembering to be present gradually becomes a natural way of living. The mind that once bounced constantly between craving and aversion discovers a peaceful middle ground, not numb or disconnected, but spaciously aware and free to respond rather than merely react. As our exploration of this profound discourse comes to a close, remember that Venerable Amatha Gavesi isn't asking you to believe anything based on faith alone. He's inviting you to investigate your own experience with a clear light of mindfulness. The next time you notice your mind getting caught in familiar patterns, worrying about the future, replaying the past, judging yourself or others, gently remember these teachings. Ask yourself, what if this experience is impermanent? What if it's not as solid as it seems? What if the one experiencing this isn't as separate and permanent as I've always assumed? Don't try to force any particular insight. Simply hold these questions lightly as you continue with your daily activities. Allow mindfulness to reveal what it will when it will. The path to freedom doesn't require perfection. It only requires the gentle, patient practice of waking up to what's already here. The late Venerable Amatha Gavesi spent his life pointing toward this simple yet profound truth. In every moment, you have the opportunity to step out of unconscious conditioning and into the freedom of clear awareness. The prison of automatic thinking and reacting has no locks, only the habits of mind that keep us believing we're trapped. Mindfulness is both the key that opens the door and the realization that the door was never actually closed. In each moment of present moment awareness, in each recognition of impermanence, in each instant of non-reactive witnessing, you're already tasting the freedom that is your deepest nature. The invitation is always here, always now, always as simple and profound as knowing you're sitting when you're sitting, walking when you're walking, and being awake to the miracle of this very moment, impermanent, unsatisfactory in its constant change, and completely empty of any permanent self to possess or be possessed by it. This is mindfulness as the late Venerable Amatha Gavesi taught it. not as another spiritual practice to master, but as the gentle return to what you've always been beneath the stories, beneath the habits, beneath the endless seeking. Simply aware, simply present, simply free.